so we were working on a thing called Cement Factory, and we went through pre-production, and we raised independent money for Def Jam Rapstar on the height of a financial meltdown. So when we were in London and like San Fran, and we're sitting there, and I'm like, yeah, we want 50 million, right, pounds, right? And they're like, coffee's like spilling it, and like, no, you're mad, and definitely not for an MMO because you haven't done one before. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So the appetite to invest in us for console was stronger. We met with Def Jam and Kevin, and he said, I've registered Def Jam Rapstar. Do you want to make a hip-hop music game? And I was just like, darn, brilliant, yeah. And kind of terrifying too, right? Oh, my God, like to actually be held accountable by the hip-hop community. It's, you know, it's a big deal. And now Def Jam, and our first game since leaving Rockstar, it's like, whoa, you know. But was very exciting because looking at that and the camera and the community, we thought we can really push the server side of the consoles and the kind of community aspect, and start at least getting towards where we want to get to. Love the idea of actually being able to put an authentic hip-hop music-based game out there, considering how many music games there are and how none of them really touch hip-hop. And to work with Def Jam is just an honour. Because I think they're a brilliant brand. I think there's so much they can do in the game space. You know, we had great fun with the fight games. And so it was sort of, you know, like a no-brainer. And we have been independently financed, so this has turned out to be this monster AAA title on all platforms, and it's definitely cost a lot of money, and so that's where all the attention's gone. Our next set of games, we're working with NBC and Ally Action Sports, and they have all these action sports like a sort of real-world tour of BMXing and skateboarding and motocross, and so we're making 3D browser-based games for them, and that I think will be kind of evidencing when I talk about us wanting to get into MMOs and take on those crowds. I think, you know, with Def Jam, I like doing the big AAA console games, and there's definitely genres we want to get more, you know, other genres we want to get into that should be on the consoles. But we are very excited about the idea of freemiums, you know, and or subscription models. But the idea of actually, I am now like 39. I don't have 20, 30, 40 hours, and it's getting all a bit complicated. I want to play at work, you know, and I want to play for 10 minutes, I want to play for 20 minutes, I want to play for 30 minutes, and kind of embrace the idea of free to play and then microtransacting, because so much of it is sort of unknown, but you sort of, it's not like it's the California gold rush. Oh, just say iPhone or iPad, and it's like bing, you know. But there is all this disruption, there is all this change, so that I think is very exciting, and the idea of getting involved in that and not really knowing how it's all going to sort of pan out.
Salt and pepper and heavy D up in the limousine.
You talk about the amount of music games around.
Yeah.
Are you worried that kind of the market at the moment is kind of flooded with too many of these titles, and that there won't be enough kind of fans to buy the genre?
No, I'm not worried at all. I mean, I think you're right, it has been flooded. Me as sort of a general consumer last Christmas, like from band hero to guitar hero to rock band, there was a lot, and it was a bit overwhelming for a consumer. This is definitely different and unique, and so looking at sort of overall popularity of the music genre, I think that it got stale, and we all got a bit, you know, got a bit boring. I think this is a complete breath of fresh air. I think, you know, even just for the hip hop community alone, right, and wider fans of hip hop is enough for us. Though this is accessible to anyone who likes music and anyone who likes performance-based games. And I think the fact that we focused on hip hop and that we have the phone-in recognition, so you have to get the lyrics right. The fact you're filming yourself, and it's all about then putting yourself out there either for fun or for competition, and the whole idea of sort of crews online is like clans, right? I think that actually it needs it, and I think everyone's going to be quite surprised at just how much fun they have with this game and how popular it is, and it will totally reinvigorate the music genre.
A millionaire, I'm a young man. It's about as a team, if I...
Yes, yes.
How have you managed? I mean, have you cut all the kind of swearing out?
No, well, so we went with the radio edits. And then there was a lot of playing around with, well, then do we have the first letter of that word? Do we underline it? You know, I think we always agreed that we wouldn't score points on those words. And then obviously by the time, you know, Konami have come on to give us, you know, worldwide distribution and retail, and everyone makes it very clear that, you know, to have this accessible to families, because there's a lot of grown-ups now that grew up with hip-hop and they want to do it with their kids, that with the radio edits, actually we could get a teen rating. And I was, you know, I was surprised by that too.
Are you worried that, like, the die-hard hip-hop...
No, the die-hard hip-hop fans are going to give us such a hard time. I'm a white British cracker who can't rap, right? Who's on video out on fucking YouTube. And they're all like, oh my God, this is going to suck. And I get that, and I understand them thinking that. I think, getting a definitive hip hop list in 45 tracks is almost impossible, right? I mean, it's an amazing lineup, but that's why we're very excited about DLC content, and because there's so many more songs to do. And with the diehard aficionado, I'm sure there's a million reasons why they're unhappy, but when they play that game, I'm sorry, it's great fun, and this is definitely made by hip hop fans for the hip hop community and for them, and they're going to love it.
I made this change from a common thing.
How do you go about choosing the track list? You got the 45 tracks.
Yeah.
You've got to try and cover every kind of decade.
There's lots of summits, lots of arguments, lots of dropping out, walking out the room, threatening to quit, throwing stuff. I think, and that's testament to the body of work that's out there, and like there are just so many songs. So it was a very challenging exercise, but there were a number of sort of consultants and people that from 97.1 to Ibra and Enough and all of Def Jam's crew and us lot one about gamers, and then I know a number of people who are like diehard hip hop karaoke fans in New York. They're always doing hip hop karaoke, and so we had a right old motley crew in the room on many occasions. And then it's like, you look at the Billboard 100 and you look at what songs really kind of affected you growing up, or what songs are kind of considered as seminal, as reflective of when at a period in time when hip hop sort of generated itself, or kind of elevated to the next level. But then you start already like, and now talking to you, it's like, well, what has to be in there? It's like, well, there's this and there's this and there's this and there's this. So it took a lot of work, and there's still like, now you stand back and go, should we have had that one in there? And
there's no Warren G Regulate in there. I mean, that's a classic.
It is a classic.
You don't know what it is, do you?
No, I do. And for a long time, I'm not sure if we've announced it and what we've announced. But Warren G and Regulate will definitely, at some point, if not already, be in the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in the future, like the
yeah. Warren G and Regulate absolutely has to, at some point, feature in this game. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Obviously, you put.
I love that. Imagine if I didn't know what that was.
Yeah. See, they say I'm rapping like.
Obviously, you put a big focus on the whole social networking and
Yes.
stuff like that. I mean, what was the choice to do that? I mean, a lot of like the core games, should say, they kind of feel that that's kind of tacked on and just kind of not necessary. I mean, what is your?
It's funny, and I understand that, because I'm the first to think about the online bits being tacked on, right? Or people thinking, oh, just mention the word online community, and that means, in sort of like the gold rush or whatever. And one of our biggest concerns was about it being just tacked on. What really that inspired that was the idea that, in working with Kevin, was sort of 2 years ago, looking at all the audience that were rapping into their laptop cameras and posting videos of themselves, rapping to A Million, to Kanye, into T.I. online. So for Kevin Lars, it was like, this is already happening, and all we've done is sort of rubber band it and sort of, give a focus to it. It was like a combination of the idea that the world is flat, and we now, as an individual, have to compete on a global level for our jobs, for everything, kind of combined with reality TV, with kind of looking at the console camera and, realizing that, hold on a minute, like, I can broadcast myself to the world with this. And then, and this behavior is already happening. So actually, we've given it a lot of thought about, well, how do we have a meaningful community? Everyone that's going to be coming there is either coming from the competition point because they are serious about being a lyricist and they're doing the freestyle and they're putting up their own raps and they really care about leveraging the social networks to vote for them. Or there's people like myself who are having videos posted of them, whether they like it or not, and goofing off and fun and sort of sharing, with people around the world who they know but don't get to see all the time. And sort of the idea of really, it's more now about you being your own star and being your own brand. And we looked a lot at the outside web communities and the sort of virtual worlds and social spaces. And sort of, because we acknowledge that in the console world, we don't necessarily know all that stuff. And there's a lot of systems that we haven't got a lot of experience with. And so the whole idea of sort of crews and a battle calendar and forming a crew, and, you know, is looking at clans and kind of how they're set up in MMOs, and then the whole sort of idea of wider, longer term tools like the promoter tool that will come out after launch, and sort of tying into, you know, your Twitter and your Facebook, is so that actually leverage existing social networks that you use, and so that you can actually, there's like a meta game within the community. So obviously we'll be judged on that come November 4th, right, in Europe, and it'll be interesting to see how that community develops. And same time with these online services, I expect to get beaten up and get a lot of flack on stuff, but we can respond quickly to that, and I hope so, because you need the plus and you need the minus to have meaningful stuff in the middle, you know. So all the detractors and hate, bring it on, man. Like, yeah.
Just rolling down the street, smoking, sipping on gin and juice, laid back with my mind on my money and my money on my mind.
I look at the next 30, 40 years, I'm like, oh wow, there's so much to do. I'm so excited to be working with Def Jam, and definitely excited to think that we're going to keep making, you know, supporting Def Jam Rapstar as a franchise, but there's obviously existing stuff they've done and we can go back there, and there's obviously new IP to get involved with. We're working with NBC on a load of action sports games. They have their Ally Sports Tour, which is BMX, motocross, skateboarding, wakeboarding, and so we're making 3D browser freemium games on Unity for them, I think we'll just keep working with partners like Autumn Games and Terminal Reality and Def Jam and NBC, and just keep building it out, and very determined to build a really big powerhouse.
Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. When I was dead broke, man, I couldn't picture this.
There can only be one Rockstar, right? And they are them, and they're Rockstar. But I think there's room for other companies with their own voice. I definitely want to...
You can always topple them.
No, I would never do that. I'm there to support them. Like, so it's not like cell multiplication, right? So now, like, we're side by side, because there is only one Rockstar. But I think if on the battlefield, we would stand side by side, right? Oh, we would anyway. And because I just think that what they've brought is really important, like their approach and their attitude and their voice, and I think I want to see more of that. At the same time, they've set the standard for me. They've shown me the level that you can achieve. I mean, it's terrifying, right? It's like, fuck, right? Because there's a lot of really smart people there, and they make the Grand Theft Autos and Redemption. It's like, well, that's the bar, and that, you know, it's really hard. So I think we'll have our own voice, but it'd be nice to be in New York and give them support, and give everyone else a serious run for their money. You know? What? What? Yeah, no, I know that, but then, like, well, we're going to get off camera stuff here. It's in the game, no.